It's Halloween night in present day, and a narrator is explaining an incident that happened back in 1987 where three 16-year-old girls were brutally murdered in their small, quaint town, Vernon, Pennsylvania. The killer was never caught, and he was notorious for wearing a black jumpsuit and a mask similar to how Michael Myers does in the Halloween franchise. Kids wear his costume every single year on Halloween night, which does leave bad taste in a few of the town's people. The narrator telling the story is a podcaster who lives for the publicity of the murders, as it brings in many views, and he has named the 1980s serial killer the Sweet 16 Killer. Next we meet Jamie Hughes, a high school sophomore, who is getting ready in her room to go to a concert on Halloween night. Her parents remind her that their friends were murdered 35 years ago, and they just want to make sure she is safe and not doing anything she shouldn't be on Halloween. Jamie and her dad head to her friend Amelia's house to pick her up and head to the concert to be dropped off. While they are gone, Pam, Jamie's mom, is still at home and is handing out Halloween candy to the trick-or-treaters. She hears a knock on the door, and whenever she answers it, it is the Sweet 16 Killer, and they get into a physical altercation. But unfortunately, he comes out victorious, and Pam dies from many stab wounds. The following day, Jamie is at school, and she is very saddened by the loss of her mother, and everyone tries consoling her to help her feel better, but none of it is really working. The police come to talk to her, and they ask if she knows where her dad was at the time of the murder, and Jamie is angered that they would even suggest he did this. The police tell Jamie her mom was having an affair with the podcast guy, and her dad may have found out, but Jamie doesn't buy it one bit. Jamie goes to hang out with Amelia after school, and discovers that Amelia is trying to build a time machine, but she doesn't want to tell anyone about it yet. Amelia set the date to go back to 1987, and wants to see if they can travel back in time to stop the killer before they ever even kill anyone, and can save Jamie's mom's life in the present. That night, Jamie has a talk with her dad, and he tells her the reason Pam and the podcast guy were texting was because they both wanted to find the killer after all these years. They were not having an affair with each other. The podcast guy's name is Chris Dubasage, and Jamie goes to meet with him to ask him what he knows about the Sweet 16 Killer, and he tells her everything he knows. Jamie then goes to talk to Amelia about the time machine at the fair, and whenever they meet up, the killer shows up behind Amelia and tries to take her out. Jamie runs into the time machine hoping to get away, and the time machine works and sends her back in time. Jamie ends up at the same fair location, but in 1987, and we can definitely tell by how everyone is dressed. Jamie asks a rando for a ride so she can go find the teenage version of her mom. Jamie goes to the school and has to enroll to enter, and she ends up being in the same gym class as her mom, and also the three girls that end up getting murdered by the Sweet 16 Killer. Jamie finds out that her mom is a total bully and acts like she is better than everyone else. They tell Jamie about a party that night, and she wants to prevent it from happening because that is where the three girls are murdered. Jamie starts searching around the school for Amelia's mom, Lauren Creston, and whenever she finds her, Jamie tells her about the time machine Lauren will invent in the future, and she tells her what is really happening. Surprisingly, Lauren actually ends up believing her because no one else knew about her notebook where she kept the time machine plans. Lauren's notebook is what Amelia used to build the time machine in the future. Jamie also says that the only way for her to be zapped back to the future is with Wi-Fi, and they do not have Wi-Fi yet in 1987, so she needs Lauren's brains to find a new way. We jump back to 2023, and Jamie's dad is frantically searching for her and talking with the police. And then Amelia walks up to them and tells them that Jamie used her time machine to travel back into the past, but they are obviously skeptical. Back in 87, Jamie and Lauren head to the party, and whenever they get inside, Jamie sees her teenage dad making out with one of her mom's friends, but Pam and Blake, her mom and dad, aren't dating yet. Jamie is doing her best to protect and save the three girls, but they don't seem to want her help at all, and they just keep making fun of her. Tiffany takes a boy upstairs to get some privacy, but he has to use the bathroom real quick, and while he is doing that, the killer pops out of the closet and brutally stabs Tiffany. Jamie realizes she changed something in the future because Tiffany was initially found dead in the garage in the regular timeline, but in this timeline, she was found in her bedroom, so things are changing due to the butterfly effect. It's still a toss-up if that's a good thing or bad thing right now. Jamie and Lauren walk home with Pam because they don't want her to be alone with the killer on the loose, and Jamie tells Pam that she is psychic, and that is how she knows who will be murdered, and Pam buys her story. They end up staying together for the night, and Jamie asks Pam if she knows anyone who hates them and would kill her and her friends. Pam answers a lot of different people could be the killer, because her and her friends have bullied a lot of people throughout high school. What great young kids. Back to 2023, and Amelia is working on her time machine, hoping to figure it out and bring Jamie back, and then Chris shows up to talk to her about everything, and he wants to check out the time machine she mentioned earlier. As they are talking, Chris notices some things on the wall that he doesn't remember happening, sort of like the Mandela effect, which we know things are changing because Jamie is altering the time continuum via the butterfly effect. There's even a picture where Jamie is with all the kids in 1987 proving that she traveled back in time. Instead of throwing a party at a cabin, Jamie convinces Pam, Marissa and Heather to go to Marissa's parents' condo for the weekend so she can get them as far away from the killer as possible and hopefully prevent Marissa and Heather from being murdered because they are the other two girls that were supposed to die. When they arrive to the condo, it turns out to be a cabin, which makes Jamie freak out even more because the two other girls end up dead at a cabin in the woods. When they said condo, she thought she meant on the beach or in the city, not woods. Jamie's trying to convince them to leave, but then the guys show up after them and they decide to party at the cabin, which is the one thing Jamie wanted to avoid doing. Jamie tries telling everyone some rules to stay safe, but they aren't listening to her at all. One of the guys thinks Jamie is a party pooper, so he locks Jamie out of the cabin. She goes trying to find a way back into the cabin when she comes across a window, and when she looks in it, it is Heather lying on the bed passed out with the killer slowly approaching her. Heather wakes up just in time to run out of the room, but she isn't fast enough, and the killer still gets the best of her. Blake tries running in to stop him, but Blake gets stabbed in the chest as well, but survives the stabbing luckily. The killer runs out of the house, and then all of the teens head to the police station to report the murder, but the cops have no idea who the killer might be. Apparently, they don't even know what DNA tracing is in 1987. Jamie starts suspecting one of the quiet kids, Lurch, may be the killer because he hates all of the bullies and popular kids in school, so maybe he is taking out his rage on them. Jamie sneaks into his van when he isn't there, and she starts snooping around only for him to open the door and catch her. But she didn't find anything anyway, and he tells her to leave. All of the kids and Jamie start planning out how they are going to catch the killer since the police are worthless. They are going to use Marissa as bait since Jamie believes she is the last one to be murdered, but they are going to be prepared to catch him the second he shows up. The killer always stabs the victim 16 times, so there should be plenty of time to catch the killer, even if it ends up Marissa's life being taken. Marissa is walking around the festival later that night, and we can see the killer following her closely. She goes into a haunted house, and all of the others are there waiting for the killer to show up. The killer shows up and gets into an altercation with everyone. Right when the killer is about to stab Jamie, Kara shows up from behind and stabs the killer to death. Jamie unmasks the killer, and it turns out to be Doug Summers, who hated the popular people that got his girlfriend stupid drunk one night and let her drive home, which resulted in her death, and none of them acted like they cared. Pam is really confused because she wasn't there that night, so she doesn't know why Doug would want to kill her. After she asks this, another killer shows up behind Marissa and makes quick work of her. Lauren runs in and tells Jamie that she has set up one of the festival rides to work with the time machine, and she can go back to 2023 now, but she has to hurry. Jamie gets on the ride, but then the killer jumps on too, along with teenage Pam. The killer stabs Pam, but Jamie is able to get her off the ride before she dies from her wounds. It's just the killer and Jamie now, and the killer takes off his mask, and it turns out to be the podcast guy, Chris Dubasage. He used Amelia's time machine to travel back and generate more interest in the murders so his podcast would flourish even more. Teen Doug was always the original killer, but Chris wanted to bring more attention to the murders, so he devised this plan to do so once he found out about the time machine. Jamie picks up a nail gun and uses it to kill Chris once and for all, so she can travel back to 2023 all by herself. Jamie runs home as fast as possible, and she is reunited with her mom and dad. Everyone is alive, and Jamie changed the future so much that she has a 35-year-old brother now because her parents got together quicker in her timeline than they ever did in the original timeline. Adult Lauren is there to catch Jamie up on everything that has happened because she lived the full 35 years remembering Jamie from 1987. And that is it for this one. Any other movies or shows I should do? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.